Hello, beloved. Glad you're here for our devotion this morning. We're in Matthew chapter 22. I just got a quick thought this morning, something to think about. I keep reading this word in the Bible, astonished. You can also read marveled or amazed, but the word that I always like is astonished. I looked up astonished, and the etymology of it in English is really the idea of being thunderstruck by just being shocked by the things that you see, where you're sort of standing there in stunned disbelief. And that's how this is when Jesus says something really astonishing, I guess, here in Matthew chapter 22. So I want to pick up in verse 29. It says, Jesus answered them, "You're wrong because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living." And verse 33, and when the crowd heard it, they were astonished at his teaching. And I, I keep reading this word and I think of this idea of astonishment, just sort of this stupefied wonder that when you hear something, you just think, I've never thought of it like that before. You've probably had that experience where you've heard something or seen something and you were just blown away by it. Well, I looked up this word in the Greek, and one of the definitions that came up just kills me, so I have to read it to you. It's super funny. This idea, it's from the Charles Buck Theological Dictionary, and it's under astonishment. It says, a kind or degree of wonder introduced by surprise. This emotion always relates to things of the highest importance, to things which appear too vast and extensive for the grasp of the intellect rather than to anything of an intricate nature. The body marks in a striking manner the singular state of the mind under this emotion. The eyes are firmly fixed without being directed to any particular object. The character of countenance, which was formed. Okay, sorry. I don't want to have to start this video over. The character of countenance, which was formed by the habitual influence of some predominant affection, is for a time effaced, and a suspension of every other expression. A certain vacuity strongly notes this state of mind. That just cracks me up. I bet I've read that 10 times. I laugh every time. A certain vacuity, just like, duh, you know. That's just how I get it. But I think about that when I read this astonished, and these people were just standing there absolutely stupefied by what they heard. Now, why would they think that? Well, they've never been told that before. That's what's so amazing to me, is here they have heard about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob since they were little bitty children. They grew up with it. Everybody's known this for generations. This is who the God is. But to say it in such a way as to say they are still alive just blew their minds. Because, you think, well, there's a resurrection. Maybe there is. The Pharisees and Sadducees are always debating about it. Maybe there will be some point where the dead, or the people in the place of the dead, the grave or Sheol, are, but someday they'll be resurrected. But here Jesus is saying, no, look, they're still alive. They didn't go anywhere. Now their bodies are gone, but their soul, their essence, who they are, is with God. And he makes this clear in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, right? He's the God of the living. They're still around. And the people are just absolutely stupefied by this. They're just, I can't believe I've never heard that before. And you read this throughout the scripture, and there's a place where Jesus is stupefied by the faith of the centurion. It says that he's astonished. Now, if you astonish God, you've really done something. But he was astonished by it. Just what's to say that for a time your countenance is effaced. You just like, duh, you just don't know what to do. Well, I read this all the time, and I ask myself, how often am I astonished at the words of Christ? I should be astonished at the words of Christ every time. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I really am astonished. I read it, and even though I've read it a few times, suddenly it hits me, and I'm just kind of stupefied. Like, how did I not get that before? Or you read it and you think it's so profoundly wise. I just can't comprehend it. I've got this little tiny peanut brain that understands a few things, but there's some things I read in the scripture, especially the words of Christ that come out, that they just absolutely astonish me. I read this and I just think, wow, it's mind bogglingly wise. I don't know how anybody could have come up with that if they weren't the Son of God. And so I want to encourage you, just a short devotion here today, to allow yourself to be astonished. They were astonished because they had these preconceived understandings of what things were, because of what they had always been taught. And they were just going through life and they'd hear it and they'd hear it and they'd hear it, how you are. And you just like, same way, you just think, well, yeah, I know that. It's not a big deal. But then suddenly they heard something they'd never heard before and they just couldn't. It was like a short circuit going on in their head. They couldn't quite get that. And I want to encourage you, do that with the scripture. Say, before you start reading, say, Lord, I'm going to put my preconceived ideas aside. I'm not going to come into it thinking I know or I've heard or I've done this stuff. I want to come into it, and Lord, I'm looking for a fresh wisdom from you today in a way I've just never really got it. And you do that, and you'll be astonished. And I'll tell you, it's really a great, I don't want to say feeling. It's not necessarily feeling. It's a great gift to realize I got that, or more, I don't get that because it's too deep, but it's something I can chew on for the rest of the day. That idea of astonishment, this stupefying awareness that something is too great, we should have that regularly when we read the scripture. Don't go into it feeling like, it's my daily routine. This is what I always do. Go into it with the idea, Lord, blow my mind today. And I'll tell you what, it'll blow your mind every time you read it if you go to it with that idea and you put all the other stuff away out of your head and you just focus on what it's saying. So that's all I've got for you today. Hey, it's a short one. That's a gift from me to you. Sorry about these long devotions, but enjoy that. Have a great day. We'll see y'all here tomorrow.